everyone, and welcome to this next video tutorial. So this is one that I'm putting together at the request of one of my patrons, Carl George. So he requested a little tutorial on how to paint Black Legion character, specifically going through how I would approach painting the black armor and the gold or brass trim. So this is actually quite a quick and easy tutorial on doing the black. It's only using a few colors and quite a simple process for getting a kind of a weathered black armor sort of look. So obviously I've started with black primer, and I've gone ahead and painted the cloak in there. Reason being that I just wanted to paint that first because it's kind of in an area where if I were to paint that afterwards, things could get a bit messy. So I've just gone ahead and done that first. So first paint we're going to go and use is Dark Reaper. So I thin this down to a kind of a layering consistency, and the brush that I'm using is kind of a medium size brush, but you want to have a nice fine tip on it. A lot of what this tutorial is just kind of being really random with your brush marks to get that textured sort of look. Actually, I'll show you. I have done up a little tester before I started recording this. This is the kind of look that we're going with. A lot of sort of small scratches, a lot of texture to give it that beaten and weathered kind of look, which would be quite fitting for this Chaos champion, Chaos Lord. So, Dark Reaper. Then what I do is my usual kind of trick of... I should say that this tutorial is kind of more for a tabletop sort of standard. So we're not going to sort of get too fancy with it. But my usual trick that I like to go with, like I've mentioned it in a lot of my videos, is using the lamp to decide where I'm going to place highlights and things. So with the Dark Reaper, as the first color, it's going to be quite bold. I'm going to lay out quite a nice wide highlight of that. So camera's being a bit funny with the glare. It's kind of hard to see what's going on, but really it's just kind of using these kind of motions. I don't really know how to describe it. It's quite sort of sporadic kind of brush marks on these kind of areas where I'm wanting to build up a bit of a highlight. But then also doing the edge highlighting and all that kind of stuff as well at the same time, getting a nice fine tip and defining those kind of armor panels. I might have another highlight running in under here. So it's just a matter of creating random little strokes and things. So it's really, obviously the kind of aesthetic that you're going for with a Chaos Space Marine is, different to a normal kind of Loyalist Astartes. Unless, you can use this kind of look for, say, I don't know, Templars or Raven Guard, other Loyalists in black armor. But yeah, as I mentioned at the start, the key to this sort of look is just being really random with it. Get some other little scratches happening in there as well. So doing the kind of bolder marks using the Dark Reaper in this stage, it's kind of a 2-for-1 kind of step, because you're building the kind of the volume of the armor by creating that highlight, but it's also giving it that texture across the surface. So it just works really well. Just to maybe I'll do up here as a more of a demonstration. So I'm kind of holding the brush with the point pointing right at the surface, and then just kind of randomly moving it around, and it kind of creates those really random marks that it looks like that kind of build up of repeated scratching and wearing and tearing, and it obviously, it's a really quick easy way to get that look as well, which is nice for painting an army of Black Legion, or as I mentioned, other Black Power Armoured Marines. It'd be nice for maybe some Heresy era Iron Hands or something like that. Really battered and chipped up. So some areas you can go over again. This area obviously is quite a prominent highlight sort of area, so I've just gone over that again. I like to, as you could see in this area here, on the kind of toe of the foot, I like to build it up on the edge, because that suggests that there's a lot of chipping right on the edge of the toe, which is logically where it would appear most. I guess the beauty of it is you can be quite sort of crazy with doing this. You don't want to go too overboard in terms of the area that you cover. I mean, as you can see, what I've done on the shoulder pad here, and I mentioned that was quite a prominent sort of highlight area, is you can get a bit of a rough gradient happening. I've left a lot of the black showing through here, and then I've gone quite heavy on the top there, and it creates that nice little variation in the volume there. Alright, so I've gone ahead and applied the Dark Reaper to the rest of the model. Obviously the backpack and the other arm as well. So the next color that we're going to be using is Thunderhawk Blue. So again, the consistency, actually, I think I said it was a layer consistency. It's actually kind of probably halfway between a base and a layer, so it's not quite as thin as a layer would be. Because you want to be able to get quite a nice opacity with the marks that you're making. So obviously this next stage is kind of just layering over what we've already done. So with the Thunderhawk Blue, you want to be a bit more reserved with how much you're applying, because you want to, just as you would with any kind of other layering approach, you want this to be covering less, so you want some of the previous layer to be showing through. So you can really see now you're getting that heavily kind of scratched look, which is really fitting for this guy, obviously. He's obviously seen a lot of action. And again, edge highlighting as we go along as well. And same deal with that, applying it in a way that you can still see the previous layer. This Thunderhawk Blue as well is a nice to use for starting to do some other kind of secondary scratches as well, like so. This bit under here, I'm being quite minimalistic with the amount that I'm applying, because it is kind of in shadow, because of the way he's kind of, striding forward. I don't want to go too crazy with highlighting that under there. It's quite fun, enjoyable, painting this way. Just kind of, if you're used to doing more of a clean style of painting with your kind of traditional layering and blending and stuff, this is kind of a nice alternative to that. It's just very flexible with applying your paints. Being very minimal in the highlighting under here as well, because obviously that other arm is going to sit there and obscure that bit a lot. And the same with this side of the leg under here. Alright, so gone ahead and finished off that stage, applied it to the rest of the model, So I'm going to move on to the next stage. So the next one, the next paint is a mix, which it's an equal parts mix of Thunderhawk Blue and Blue Horror. So it's even lighter. And at this stage, this is just to really pick out the very sharpest of highlights. And just getting those edges really sharp as well. I've switched to a fine detail brush, just because I just want to get those lines nice and crisp and sharp. So at this stage, as I said, just refining the edges, but you can also, again, apply some really fine little scratches if you wanted to. You don't have to, because there is a lot of texture there already. But sometimes, it's nice just to add some more fine little scratches in there. So you can see already that's starting to really sharpen things up a lot. Just getting a little bit more definition in the armor. And again, just simple layering principle. You're going over the top of the other paint, but you still want the other paint showing through, which is kind of pretty straightforward with this paint anyway, because we're applying it quite minimally. All right, so that's that stage done. The kind of final stage of highlighting. So if you wanted to, you could leave it at this stage, really. It does have kind of a bit more of a shiny sort of look with those strong highlights. But what I will do next is a stage to kind of start to harmonize things a bit more. So what I've mixed is just a kind of a glaze consistency of Abaddon Black. And what I'm going to do with that is just go over all these areas with a light glaze. And what that will start to do is just tone down the highlights a bit. And sort of start to bring everything together a bit. you want to get just a nice thin coat on there. Ideally, try not to let it kind of pull in the recesses too much, because you want it to be nice and even. So it's perfectly fine. As I said, if you liked the way it looked before this stage, it's fine to leave it how it was. I just like to do it to kind of, as I said, kind of harmonize things a bit more. It kind of takes the edge off a bit. All right, easy as that, and that dries really quick because of the glaze consistency. The last thing that I like to do is just reintroduce a little bit of the Thunderhawk blue. If you were to continue on to this stage after you've done that glaze, just to sort of bring back the saturation on some of those highlights. All right, well, that's it for this guy for now on the weathered black armor. So, Carl, I hope that's helped out. I will record another video for the armor trim, all those metallic areas. And I hope that's helped anyone else who's been wanting to tackle some black armor done in this kind of style. So thanks for watching, and thank you so much for your continued support.